Hi, Biodun Ogunyemi, founder of Optimine Method and creator of Dream Yourself In. And today I want to share with you a 3-part series, a video series, and it's absolutely free, that can help you achieve your goals. And when I talk about your goals, I'm talking about your weight loss goals. You see, if you're a person that's struggled for whatever reason, maybe you're frustrated because you've been trying to lose weight over the years, perhaps you've lost weight, put weight back on, or perhaps you're having an issue starting your weight loss goals, then the question is, there must be something that's stopping you. You see, like most people, when I ask them about losing weight, they already know how to lose weight. Most people have lost weight in the past and found that they've put weight back on. But the question is, if you already know how to lose weight, then why can't you get yourself to do it? Why can't you get yourself to do the things that you're meant to do to reach your goal? And the answer is pretty simple. It's because there isn't enough leverage to make you achieve that goal, to help you on that journey. There isn't enough desire. And the next question is, well, how do you create that desire? Now let me tell you one thing. Most people, when they consider losing weight, they don't really know where to start. Or else what they've done, they use what they've done before, which is probably some form of diet. In other words, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, Einstein calls that the definition of insanity. But let's start with the very first step. The very first step is you need to know exactly what your goal is. Absolutely 100% know exactly what you want to achieve. Now whether that's half a stone, 1 stone, 2 stone, or whatever it is, you need to know exactly where you are right now today and exactly where you want to be. And you need to have an idea of the time scale involved. And I label this as setting your intention from the start. So from the very start, you set your intention. What's your intention? In other words, how much weight exactly do you want to get rid of? And what's your time scale? And more importantly, what will losing weight actually do for you? In other words, why do you want to lose weight? Because there must be a reason why you think about losing weight. What's it going to do for you in terms of, is it going to change your life in some way? Is it going to improve your relationships? Is it going to make you healthier or fitter? Is it going to make you feel more confident? So what's the overall reason for doing it? Because I generally find if I ask 100 people and ask them if they want to lose weight, then a high percentage of those people will say, yes, I really want to lose weight. I could do with getting rid of a few pounds. The question is, what are they prepared to do to get there? And most of the time it's nothing, because there's no emotional commitment, there's no attachment to the goal. You see, you've got a situation where you've got 2 different forces fighting against each other. So you've got the part of you that really wants to achieve this goal, yet you've got the part of you that's stopping you from doing it. So the very first thing you need to do is set your intention. In other words, what exactly is my goal? And once I reach this goal, what difference will it make to my life? How will I feel? How will I be different? And a lot of the time you need to change it at an identity level. Because once you change it at an identity level, then your whole life could be different. And a lot of people say, well, what if I just rely on willpower? And willpower is really all about your attention. What's your attention on? So if you're about to embark on a weight loss goal and you want to change your body, you want to change your shape, you know, really, what difference will it make to your life? And asking that question is really important, because that can actually give you a reason to actually begin this journey. Most people have got some form of resistance. In other words, they've tried things over and over and over again. They've tried various different diets. They've had some success. Generally, they've put the weight back on. So technically, when they begin a journey and they start another process, they think, this isn't really going to work, but you know what, I'll try it anyway. And as soon as you think like that, there's one thing missing. And that one thing that's missing is the belief in yourself. Because really, if you don't believe you can achieve it, then you're probably absolutely right. And Henry Ford says, if you think you can, and if you think you can't, you can't. Now this process, Dream Yourself In, really deals with changing on the inside. You need to change on the inside. You need to change your thought patterns. When you change your thought patterns, your habits and your behaviours will follow, and it will be completely automatic. If you only change on the outside, in other words, if you constantly force yourself to eat all the foods that you don't like, and you constantly force yourself to go to the gym to exercise, then that process, you've got to ask yourself, well, how long can you continue that process for? Because generally at some point along the line, you'll run out of steam, you'll have resistance, and you end up going back to your old habits and behaviours. But what if you could change completely? In other words, you could change so that the person that you are today, you're no longer that person moving forward. In other words, there's a burning desire to achieve your goal. So setting your intention is the very first thing. Deciding, am I willing to take up this challenge? Am I willing to do something completely different that possibly I've not tried before, or possibly you have tried it but you haven't given it your full commitment? Now this process it doesn't involve any pills, any potions, no calorie counting, because really if you start to speak to people that are happy with their weight, happy with their body, you tend to find that they're not on diets, they don't constantly watch what they're eating, they don't calorie count, and they generally don't spend hours and hours and hours exercising. So the very first thing is setting your intention, knowing exactly what you want, knowing exactly when you want to achieve it. And when you talk about the length of time to achieve your goal, it's not about having to achieve it in 1 month or in 2 months or in 3 months. Depending on what your goal is, it could take you 6 months, could take you a year. I mean, I've had people on my programs that have been able to lose up to 6 stone and keep it off. And if you can imagine that, it's completely changed the person that they are. So that's one thing to really consider and really think about that, setting your intention. And that alone could begin to change you from today. And as I say, this is a 3-part video series. The idea is that you can watch this over and over and over again. You can take notes and really begin to think at a different level, at a deeper level. What's your commitment to changing? Is it time? Is it your time to change right now? So the first thing is setting that intention, and make the intention as specific as possible. So exactly what you want to achieve, exactly what difference it will make in your life. The next thing is, how much desire do you have to change? How much desire do you have within to actually change? It's like if you want something and you really want it so much that there's nothing really going to stop you from getting it, regardless of whether you've got enough money, regardless of whether you've got enough time, regardless of the situation, you are so set in your ways to get this. And I'm sure there's been many times in your life that you've really desired something that much, but you don't really know how you're going to get it. But that desire's there, it's the desires within, and you end up achieving it. You end up achieving that goal, you end up getting the things that you want. So the question is, how much desire have you actually got right now? And by measuring that desire and asking yourself, well, how can I create a burning desire that basically is going to set me up so there's nothing going to stop me from getting there, regardless of the situation? And when you have that desire, it's like you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about achieving your goal, but you're also feeling good thinking about the goal. Because when you're feeling good, then it's a lot easier to get rid of weight, it's a lot easier to change your body, it's a lot easier to focus on the right things, to focus on eating the things that you want to eat, to focus on eating things that can make a difference. You've really got to ask yourself the right questions. In other words, if you're about to sit down to a meal or you're going out for a night, you can ask, well, you know, whatever I'm about to have right now, is this going to support me on my goal? Is it going to hinder me or is it going to support me? And by asking yourself the right questions over and over and over again, eventually your unconscious mind picks that up, and eventually you start to change your habits and your long-term behaviours. You see, we're too used to using the logical side of your mind. So you've got what you call the logical part of your mind that you use to make decisions every single day. And those decisions you make, they could be logical or maybe they're not logical. Not every single decision is logical. Some decisions are, you've got an emotional attachment to a decision. Now what do I mean by that? Well, it's simple. Every single day you've got to make decisions. You use the logical part of your mind. But the logical part of your mind doesn't control your long-term habits and behaviours, which are automatic. It doesn't control things like your breathing. It doesn't control things like the blood flow through your body. It doesn't control things like your heartbeat. You see, when was the last time you had to wake up in the morning and think of, wow, maybe I should just remember to breathe? It's completely automatic. You don't need to do it. Now, if you could have a process whereby you can change the way you feel about certain things, so that it becomes automatic, then it'll make a difference in your life, because things will just automatically happen. It's like running on autopilot and really not knowing how you got there. And I'm sure many of you have had times where you've changed something in your life for whatever reason. Perhaps it's a situation where for years and years, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you've been smoking and you've smoked for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden something in your life has happened, and in that moment that happened, you decided, you know what, enough is enough, I've had enough and I've stopped. And in that moment, something happened that changed the way you feel about smoking. Something perhaps changed to determine the way you feel about alcohol or about something else. And at the moment that happened, there's so much leverage created that you just instantly change. And really that's the actual intention and the goal of what we can achieve on this program, which is Dream Yourself Thin. And as I say, just if you can take as many notes as you can, listen to this over and over and over again so that this really gets embedded. We're changing from the inside out. So we're changing the part of you that's got an emotional attachment to the goal, the part of you that can change your long-term habits and behaviours, the part of you that stores all the information in that place that you store all such memories that are long forgotten. So creating enough desire. The next thing is, how much do you actually believe that you can achieve your goal? In other words, how much belief have you got? Do you really start the program and you're so motivated and you're really confident that, yes, this time I'm going to do it? It's like waking up on the 1st of January or the 2nd of January and deciding, you know, this year I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to keep it off. This year I'm going to change my body. And you might be so motivated at first, and then all of a sudden, within the next few weeks or the first few weeks or the first few months, things kind of tailor off and you find yourself going back to your old habits and your old behaviours. You see, if I ask somebody, do you think that when you wake up in the morning, do you think it will be light, or do you think the sun will come up? Most people are going to say, yes, of course I think the sun's going to come up at some point. So you absolutely 100% or 99% believe that to be the case. If I say, do you believe at some point it's going to get dark tonight? Then most people are going to say, yeah, of course it's going to get dark tonight. So they 100% believe that. They believe that, and the belief is there. Now let's take a scenario whereby you decide to start a program. So you pick up the latest diet, 1st of January, there's so many diet books. You pick up the latest one, you've tried 5, 6, 7, 8 diets in the past, and perhaps you've had some success with those diets. Perhaps you've been able to lose weight really quickly. And perhaps you've been able to feel good for a while and then find that the weight starts creeping on. The interesting thing is the weight didn't all go on at once. It's gradually gone on over time. And you've gradually had to do something consistently to be able to put weight on. You see, it doesn't just happen. So consider this. If you start a program and you think, well, I'm going to start this program, I'm going to give it my best shot, I'm going to try and see if I can stick to the program. And if by sticking to the program you're making yourself feel bad, and there's a little element in the back of your mind saying, really I'm going to give this my shot, but I don't think this is going to work. In other words, you're really skeptical as you go into the program, and you keep that process going. Then over time you're creating conscious resistance. In other words, you think to yourself, I'll try this, but really I don't think this is going to work because I've tried so many diets before and none of them have produced the results that I want. So this is just another diet. I'll try it and hopefully I'll wish for the best. Wishing for the best is the wrong thing to do. You see, you've got to go into a program with the full commitment of knowing that regardless of what happens, I can make this happen, and believe that it can actually happen. Believe it really from the bottom of your heart that this is going to happen. You see, if you think the part of you that can create that desire, that belief, is from within. It doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from changing your diet or changing what you eat or changing what you drink. It doesn't come from forcing yourself to go to the gym. It doesn't come from forcing yourself to do something consistently that you don't like doing. You see, let's face it, how many people like to eat salads all day long? How many people like to just have something like soup all day long? How many people don't like eating certain things like, you know, never eat chocolate in your life? So it's not about that. And think about this, most people talk about the difference between carbohydrates and proteins. So you hear so many different opinions. One of the opinions is, look, you should just reduce your carbohydrate and eat more proteins, based on the famous Atkins diet, for example. But then ask yourself a question. If you've ever been to a place like France and Europe, then quite a lot of the population smoke. They eat bread every single day, basically, and they drink copious amounts of probably wine. Yet most of the nation is slim. You don't see many overweight people in France. France do not have an issue with obesity. Let's go to China, a place like China, massive population. You don't see many overweight people in China. Yet what's the staple diet in China? Rice. Staple diet in China is a carbohydrate. Go to somewhere like Milan, you don't see many overweight people in Milan. So again, what's going on? What's different about these nations whereby they can eat carbohydrates and yet they can still remain slim, or they can still be happy with their shape, happy with their body? Yet places like the US and the UK, we've probably got the highest rates of obesity. A lot of other nations don't have an issue with an obesity crisis. So think about what's going on. You see, it all starts from within, it all starts from your mind. And if you can have a thought in your mind and you can really follow through on that thought, then that's really going to affect your body, it's going to affect the way you think, it's going to affect the way you behave, it's going to affect your behaviours, it's going to affect your habits, and it's going to change you. And once you change, and you change for good, you won't go back. So it's really, how much belief, how much do you believe in yourself? And what this program will help you to do, this program will help you to build that belief, so you build that confidence, so you become motivated to do things that perhaps you've not done for years, things that you enjoy. You see, forcing yourself every night to go to the gym for 45 minutes and working out until you're sweating and going home and feeling torn between, you know, should I go to the gym tonight or should I go home? Really, it makes no difference, because you should be doing things that you enjoy. And if you're doing things that you enjoy, then the byproduct of that is you start to change your shape, you start to change the way you feel about yourself. It all starts from within, and changing the way you feel about yourself completely, so that you have a burning desire to succeed and you believe that you can. And the next interesting point, the next interesting thing is, it's almost like you expect it to happen. And a lot of people that come on my programs initially, especially my weight programs, I find that initially they haven't been exposed to hypnosis in some way, or they've tried other processes. And usually a process like using hypnosis or influencing your mind is the last port of call. In other words, they try everything else until eventually they think, well, maybe I should try this because it might work. And a lot of people come on board, and a lot of people are skeptical at first, and that's absolutely fine. You see, the reason they're skeptical is because they're not sure what to expect. Sometimes they expect, you know, what does hypnosis mean? And hypnosis really is none other than the process of trance, which we go in and out of all day long. You see, if you're reading a book and you're so engrossed in that book, and naturally you're kind of engaged in that book, and you find your mind is engaged in the whole process, that's the state of trance. If you're sitting at a set of traffic lights, the traffic lights change to red, yet you're still sitting there in the car and you've not moved, that's a trance state. It's a natural trance state. If you're on the train and your mind's wandering and you're daydreaming, that's a natural process of trance. Again, it's a natural trance state, and that's all hypnosis. Usually you find some people might be on a journey travelling along the motorway and they might miss the cut-off for whatever reason, and it's because their mind's drifted off. So that natural process, watching a film is a classic one. You're watching a movie, you're so engrossed in the movie, somebody might be calling your name in the next room, you don't even hear them. So again, these are all natural processes of trance. We enter this state all day long. All you need to do is walk outside and just observe people, and you see that they're in their own natural world. Sports people are always in what you call, a lot of the time, they'll be in the zone, they'll be in that focused state of attention. And that's all hypnosis is, it's a focused state of attention. So it's not really about the person that's conducting the hypnosis, the hypnotist, having control. There is no control. The hypnotist does not have any control over that individual. The individual is engaging in a process because either they want to engage in that process, or if it's a stage show, for example, or it's for entertainment, they're doing it because they want to do it and they're just engaged in the process. At any point in time, it's not sleep, so you're not sleeping at all. It's just a process where your mind's wandering. The reason the eyes are closed a lot of the time is simply because to cut out distractions. But you do not need your eyes closed for your mind to drift off. You do not need your eyes closed to be in the zone when you see a sports person really engaged and really focused and in that flow. They don't need their eyes closed. You never see them running around the track with their eyes closed. Their eyes are completely open, yet they're so focused that they're narrowly focused on that one particular thing. So if you can imagine being so focused that nothing can drive you off that track because you're so single-mindedly saying to yourself, I'm going to achieve this goal, but you've got an emotional attachment and you feel it from the bottom of your heart and you know that you can achieve it, then that's when you get the results. So the question is getting you from where you are just now to that state where you can feel that attachment, where you can feel that emotion, where you can have the correct intention, the burning desire to succeed, the belief that you can succeed, and really believe it from the bottom of your heart. And then on top of that, expect it to happen. It's almost like you expect it, and when you expect it to happen, all of a sudden things start to happen. You start to notice that your belt's a little bit looser. You start to pay attention when people pay you compliments, because people say, you know, you look really different. Sometimes people point out that you're making different choices, because often we're the last people to actually recognise it ourselves, because we're so focused and so in tune with what we've been doing for years and years and years that we don't really notice that we're cutting out certain things. We don't really notice that we're making different choices until people start pointing it out. So I want you to really think tonight, if you can for this particular exercise, if you can set an intention for yourself, set your intention, know exactly where you want to be in, say, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months time, exactly what you want to achieve. And initially your goal could be, you could think about your goal and think, I don't know if I can achieve that. But then you've got to break it down into steps. You've got to break it down into steps to say, what's the first step? The first step might be just simply dropping a belt loop down. The first step could be dropping a dress size. The first step could be the first £5. Whatever the first step is, the first baby step in the right direction. That's the first thing you've got to consider. Setting that intention, being specific with that intention, knowing exactly what you want to achieve. It's not good enough to say, I just want to lose some weight. That is not good enough. So setting that intention specifically so you can begin to move in the right direction. The second thing is having that burning desire. Creating that burning desire. Start to think about, what's it going to be like when I can fit into those clothes? What's it going to be like when I'm on holiday and I'm lying on the beach? What's it going to be like when, if you've got kids, when I can do all the things I want to do with my kids? What's it going to be like when I go into the doctor, for example, and I'm the right weight, the right shape? What's it like when I feel much healthier? What's it like when I feel fitter? What's it like to be really confident about my body? What's it like to be motivated to get up and do the right things? What's it like to just feel good about yourself? Just feel good. If you can imagine feeling good about yourself and not allowing certain thoughts to control you all day long, so that you don't have to think about food constantly. You see, what's the number one thing if you're on a diet you're thinking about all day long? Where's your awareness? Where's your attention? Constantly on food. That's the only thing that's on. So if you could have your attention on feeling good, remembering pleasant memories from the past, remembering times when you were the weight that you wanted to be and you were happy with your body and you didn't really pay attention to diets. You didn't really pay attention to all the media and all the advertising that's forcing you to eat all the wrong things. So just really consider that. Belief, having that belief that, you know what, perhaps you've done it before, so if you've done it before, it means that you can do it again. Because you followed a process before, perhaps you've lost weight before and found that you've put it on. So what did you learn from that? Did you learn that perhaps it's not useful to do it really quickly? Did you learn that perhaps you should maybe take smaller steps in the right direction? What have you learned from the process of being able to lose some weight in the past? You see, if you've lost any weight in the past, then it means that you can do it again. The interesting thing is if you're maintaining your weight right now, then I'd like to ask you a question. How are you doing that? Because you must be doing something to maintain your weight at a certain level. If you're putting on weight right now, the question is, how are you doing that? Because if you can put on weight, it means you can also get rid of weight. Because you must be doing something to put on weight. So that's really just thinking outside the box. Thinking about times that you've achieved things in your life. And if you've never been able to achieve losing any weight at all, then what kind of things have you achieved in your life? What kind of challenges have you had that you've been able to overcome? What kind of things have you maybe done in the past that you didn't think you could do, but you found you could? You found a way to achieve it. So having that belief within yourself, having the belief that, you know, I can do this. I can really do this. And then having that expectancy, really expecting things to happen. Really going in to this with an open mind and just opening your mind to the possibility that, you know, what's the most natural way of being able to reduce your shape, of being able to change your shape, being able to reduce your size? What's the most natural way? How do some of my friends do it that don't talk about diets all day long, that don't count calories, that don't take any potions or pills or shakes or anything else? How do they do it? How do they do it? What's their attention on all day long? What do they focus on? What's different about them? What am I doing what am I doing wrong that they're not doing? And really begin to focus and study certain people and ask them certain questions and then expect to be able to get the same results. You see, for example, if you want to bake something or you want to make a meal, for example, and if you get the exact ingredients and you follow that exact recipe exactly as it is, then technically you should get pretty much the same results. Now, they might not be exact, but you should pretty much get close to it. And it's like asking people, you know, asking them more and more questions and being interested and really committing to this goal. And I want you to really think about that. And on this journey, there's so many different things that can stop you. There's so many times that you might find yourself off track. And really, it doesn't really matter. Because in the next series, the next video in this series, I'm going to really be talking about the roadmap, talking about what route you should follow. And then I'll be talking really about, you know, what can really stop you from achieving this goal. What's the 3, 4, 5, 6 things that can stop you in your tracks, that can stop you being able to move forward, that can even stop you from the very first step. So, as I say, think about all these things that I've discussed and just allow it to sink in, allow it to really touch you in a place, allow you to, you know, relate it to certain things that you've achieved in your life and how you've done it, things that perhaps you thought was a real challenge and maybe you've got over it. So I hope you've enjoyed this first video, and I hope to see you in the next video if you look out for that in the next few days, and I'll see you then. Thanks.